Hi, welcome to episode 84 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at The Corner of Knit and Tea, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Stash Buckler, Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and if you haven't come over, you should come over and join us. We are in the midst of a knit-along, and there will be prizes for that, so please come check us out. Hello, how are you? It is Sunday, April 17th, and I hope that you are doing well, that you have had a wonderful week and had some crafty time. The week was pretty good here. I had Thursday I wasn't feeling well, so I actually ended up staying home from work, which meant that I got quite a bit of crafting done. So that has been kind of nice. Yesterday we went out to FPV or drone races, and Wes raced and he took 4th place. And it was pretty fun. I will say that the weather was not entirely cooperative. It was supposed to be in the 70s, and it was more like in the 60s, and it was super windy. They said it was up to 23-mile-per-hour gusts. So it was kind of crazy out there yesterday. But that's what we did yesterday, and he's actually also training for a half marathon in a couple weeks, so he went for an 11-mile run yesterday. I'm super proud of him that he's doing this, and I don't run unless zombies are attacking me, so... Anyway, so he had a crazy day yesterday, and today is just going to be kind of quiet. I have chores to do. I'm recording the podcast. I hope to get some more crafty time in. And I guess that's about it. I will say that I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to record next weekend. Next weekend is Ply Magazine is doing their first event called Ply Away, and it is a spinning conference here in Kansas City, and I am super excited. On Friday, I am taking a sock yarn spinning class with Amy King, who owns Spunky Eclectic. And on Sunday, I am taking a spindle class with Abby Frankmont, who wrote the book Respect the Spindle, and really taught me how to spin, not in person, but through all of her teaching aids and books. And I am super excited about that. She is a spinning master, and I jumped at the chance to take a class with her. And then on Saturday, I'm planning to kind of hang out at the market and see people, so I'm not exactly sure when I'll be home and when I will be able to record a podcast, but I will definitely try and get something out next weekend and include some pictures, talk about some of the classes that I took, and maybe even a little stash enhancement. I'm going to try and be good since I just did all that yarn buying, but I'm sure there will be a few braids of fiber that will want to come home with me. So that is what's going on in my life. I think today is going to be a little bit shorter show because I'm only working on a couple projects, but let's jump right in. I don't know how many of you have actually checked out my blog. Every Friday I review a new tea on the blog, and I had decided since summer was coming, it was important to start reviewing some iced teas. So I ordered some, and I have been making up pictures of tea, and this week I am drinking the Republic of Tea Strawberry Basil. And I thought this one sounded delicious. It has organic green tea, organic apple, organic blackberry leaves, organic basil, lemon balm, natural strawberry flavor, and organic strawberry bits. So I mixed up a pitcher of this today, and I am drinking it iced in my Tervis mug, which I actually, last year I was drinking one out of pink butterflies, but I got my Minions mug, and I absolutely love this one, so this is the one I've been using lately. So that is organic strawberry basil. Ooh, and that is really delicious. I get a lot of the strawberry, and I think I get a little bit of the lemon balm. But that is really good. It actually tastes like strawberry, which I find some strawberry teas do and some strawberry teas don't. But that is delicious. I will enjoy that throughout the week. Usually what I do is I make a big pitcher of tea and then drink it throughout the week. And that is perfect as the weather gets warmer. These packages come with 8 1-quart pitcher pouches, so that is exactly what I am using it for. So let's move on to the knits. I don't have a lot to show you this week because actually I was a fairly monogamous knitter, which, as you know, is not my usual style. Usually I have quite a few projects going on. However, the Frosted Midnight sweater, the one I am knitting out of Monos del Uruguay Marina, which is a lace weight yarn that I was generously sent by the people over at Monos, and let me think. I need to pull the actual name because Monos has a US distributor, and I really need to pull that name so I can tell you who that is who generously sent me this yarn. But it was from the Monos US distributor, and they wanted me to use it and see what I thought of it, and I decided to do a sweater. And I sort of tentatively said that I was hoping that I would be done in April, so I have been working non-stop on this. As you remember, last week I showed you the picot hem and just a little bit, and I am now almost done with the body. So I did a lot of work this week. This is, I think, about 13 and a half, 14 and a half inches, and I have about another inch and a half to go. I love the fabric that it's making. I love that it's a little bit, not variegated, but it's very tonal. It's got all kinds of greens, from dark foresty green to almost a minty green, and I just love the way this is knitting up. It is super, super soft. It will be a little bit sheer at the gauge that I am knitting it at, and I think that's okay because, again, I was sort of knitting this up to be a sweater to go over summer dresses. But that is a pretty good representation of the color, and like I said, I did a huge amount this week. I am super impressed with myself for sticking with it and getting all of this done. I am also going to change the order a little bit. If you remember, I talked to you about how this is a bottom-up sweater, so you would work the body from bottom up to the armpits, and then you would work the sleeves, and then you would join all together and do the yoke. I am just a smidge concerned that I might not have enough yardage, and so what I am planning to do is actually, when I get to the length on the body that I need, I am going to cast on the yoke stitches provisionally, and do the yoke, and then do the button bands and the collar, so that when I'm ready to do the sleeves, that is all I have left to do. I haven't decided yet. I have two plans. One is to, so I want to knit the sleeves down from my provisional cast on towards the cuff. One of the plans is just to divide up the yarn that I have left and just knit the sleeves whatever length the sleeves become, which could be 3/4 length sleeves, it could be short sleeved, it just kind of depends what I have left. The second plan would be to buy an alternate skein just in case I run out, and then if I don't run out, maybe, and I don't need to break into the skein, then maybe do that skein as a giveaway. So I haven't completely decided. I'm leaning towards just buying the extra skein and having it on hand. This was a poor decision on my part because I didn't look quite at the yardage requirements. I just assumed the 2 skeins of lace weight at 874 yards per skein would be enough, and I'm just not sure, given especially the picot hem, that that's really the way it's going to work. So I have been measuring and hemming and hawing, but I have been knitting a lot, and I am super happy with it. It is super soft, and I love the colors, and I'm very excited to get to the yoke because that's where the exciting beadwork happens, where it will just really, I feel like, come together even if I have to do the sleeves afterwards. So that is mostly what I have been working on this week, because that has taken most of my time, and I've been taking this everywhere with me. It is my lunchtime project, my knit night project, pretty much everywhere. I am hoping to get another inch or two done this evening, so that I will be able to start the yoke this week, and then unfortunately this will become a home project, because when I am working on the beaded rows in the yoke, I am not taking my beads and my crochet hook and everything out with me, so then progress will be a little bit slower, and especially with the, sorry, I've got hair in there, especially with ply next weekend. I don't know exactly how far I'll get on this, but I hope to make some good progress this week nonetheless. So that is my Frost at Midnight cardigan. I'm calling it Frosted Pines because the colorway is Arboretum and I think it looks like pine trees. So Frosted Pines. The second project that I showed you, and that has seen a little bit of love this week, is my shawl for our knit along. As I said last week, I am knitting the Beach Cove shawl by Anne Podlesack, and I am knitting it in some hand-spun singles. It's 2 of by hand, and the colorway is called Freak Show. And I kind of have a funny story about this, but I will show you this first. Last week when we spoke, I was at the real light pink, kind of bubblegum pink part, and I have gotten back into kind of the darker pink. It's not showing up as well this week as it did last week. The light just may be different, but as you can see, it starts at a cherry red and then goes into kind of a bubblegum pink, and now it's going into a darker kind of raspberry. And so I definitely got some progress, not a ton, but a little bit. And I expect that this will not get a ton of attention until after I finish the lace weight sweater. But again, this, and I misspoke last time, so I tried to put in some subtitles. This knit along runs April 1st through May 31st. I misspoke last time and threw March in there, but you have until the end of May. You can knit whatever shawl you want, so please consider joining us, and I expect that this will be done in plenty of time. Not that I'm eligible for prizes or anything, but I like to knit along with my knit alongs and complete it in the time frame. So that is that. So that is all that's on my knitting needles. I am dying to cast on a bunch of other things. I have a pair of socks that I would really like to cast on. I have another shawl that I would really love to do. And right now I am really in a, I want to knit socks and I want to knit shawls place. I still have my Hilda to finish up, which you saw for a while. I am almost done with the first sleeve. I need a few more inches on that. And then it needs a second sleeve, so I'm planning to try and get that one done, possibly not in April, but definitely in May. And so I'm sort of hoping that the summer will be socks and shawls, because that is really, really what I'm leaning toward. But I also want to knit a Rhinebeck sweater, and I just bought the yarn for that. So that's another one that I need to kind of slot into all the things that I want to do. So I'm not really clear what's going to happen next. Pretty soon you'll probably see another cast on. I would guess probably not until the last week in April, until I get a few more things or get a little bit more progress on some of these things. I suspect that you'll see a little bit more progress on this one because once I start the yoke, this will be my lunchtime project and my out of the house project. So that's all that's currently on my needles. Like I said, I will probably cast on some more things soon, but I am trying to keep my cast on small so that I work on that sweater. The other thing that's coming up is April 24th through April 30th. I think. Yeah, Sunday, April 24th through April 30th. Sally of the Wool Diaries podcast is, and Sally Jane of the Pink Hair Girl Knits are doing Blanket Madness. That is a 1-week contest. It's a contest for a title. There's no prizes, but it is to knit on your sock blanket. Or I guess they're calling it Blanket Madness because not everyone is doing it with sock yarn. But the deal is, if you are making a blanket that has like mitered squares, you post a picture of your blanket on the 24th and you say how many squares are in it. And then you post another picture on the 30th and you post not how many squares are in it, but how many squares you have added to it in that week. And whoever knits the most squares is kind of crowned the Blanket Madness queen. That is pretty much all there is to it, but it's just kind of a fun week to get everyone working on their blankets and seeing how many squares they can do. Again, I will still probably try and make myself work on that sweater, but I am definitely going to knit a bunch of squares on my blanket. So, sip of tea, and then let's move on to spinning. Last week I showed you a braid with all kinds of fun colors. It was a spunky eclectic club braid in Falkland called Snow Lightning, and I have finished that this week, and it has spun up. It had, as you remember, it had pinks and purples and a little bit of brown and some splotches of blue and lots of white. And I spun that up, and this is pretty true to color. It might not be quite as bright, but I think it's pretty true. And this is a squishy, soft, probably a sport weight, and I would guess probably between like 325 and 350 yards. I still have to measure it. It was a fun spin. It was really neat kind of going through all the colorways, and I just love how it came out. It's kind of pinks and purples and blues, but I hesitate to call it pastels because that's not exactly what it is. And it certainly has, while it has some very light parts, it also has a few darker parts. So I just really like this skein. It's super pretty. So I will be taking pictures and posting them, and this one will be going into the shop. So if this interests you, keep an eye out for it, probably later today or early tomorrow. So that brings me to what I will spin this week. And this week I have selected a Southern Cross fiber braid. And I don't know a lot about this braid. The deal is that a little while ago, probably, well, it was before the year, it was before the end of the year, so it was probably like October, November, December. David of Southern Cross Fiber had kind of a grab bag sale, and that was where you could buy a certain number of grab bags and he would send you that many braids, and all the braids are probably about 100 grams, which is 3.9 ounces, and they were labeled international mystery wool of mystery, because he doesn't actually talk about colorways or what exactly the fiber is. So this was one of the ones that I got, and I just love the red and the greens in this. It's got some like limey greens and acid greens, and then it's got more like teal greens or forest greens, and then it's just got all these beautiful reds. I have my theories on what this is, but of course this is just my theory. I will not be marking it this way. My theory is that this was a test dye for a club colorway called Splendor, which I actually spun a few months ago, and I spun it on the luxury base, but the regular club colorway offering was on Corriedale, which, as you know, I love for socks. And this kind of feels like it could be Corriedale, and the colors are somewhat similar to where Splendor ended up. So that's kind of what I think this came from. But again, I can't say for sure. But it is just a fun, with all the bright green and then those beautiful reds. That's a great, that's a pretty good color approximation. I am just really excited to spin this one. It just kind of makes me happy. So that will be what I spin this week, and I haven't decided how I spin it. If I barber pole it, or if I try and keep the colors together, or I can't decide. So that is what I will be working on this week, and hopefully finish it up before I go to Plyaway, because I need my bobbins clear so that I can spin next weekend quite a bit. And I suppose that's kind of the end of my podcast, although I did have one thing that I wanted to tell you. And I should have done it in the knitting section, but I missed it. So, like I said, this is my Beach Cove shawl. And it's in my handspun, and the handspun was 2F by hand in one of their club colorways called Freak Show. And so I usually try and pick a title for my project that goes with the shawl pattern in the yarn. And the shawl pattern was called Beach Cove, and I really didn't think that this really reminded me of a beach, so I started calling it my Party Cove shawl. And Liz, who is Liz FM or Liz Farley Metzger, said to me, "I can't believe you're calling it that. Don't you know what the Party Cove is?" And I did not. So I live in Kansas City. I live on the Kansas side, but it is right at the border between Kansas and Missouri. And there is an area in Lake of the Ozarks that they call the Party Cove because it is sort of infamous for being an area where people go and they lash their boats together and they drink a lot and they're not always clothed. And Wikipedia calls it sort of a floating bacchanalia. So apparently this area in Lake of the Ozarks is infamous as Party Cove, and most of my Missouri friends or Midwest friends thought I was hysterical for calling my shawl Party Cove. So there you go, it is the Bacchanalia shawl, which honestly kind of fits with Freak Show, right? So that is all that I have for you today. I hope that you have had a wonderful week and are looking forward to another one. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.